Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, quite a day I must say. We're going to be talking about, of course, everything that has happened today. What it means, moving forward into the rest of the week, into the rest of the month even, and just essentially try to figure out what is happening with Tesla right now, because it is truly quite phenomenal. But as usual, if you guys enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button. Of course, this is not financial advice. Make your own decisions. Do your own research. I'm not a financial advisor. And of course, I do have my member course, or not really course, my member section, if you will, for $2.99 a month, where I essentially show my intraday or share my intraday thoughts on Tesla as it moves. Now, all that being said and done, this was a video where I kind of want to just get into it because this is pretty wild. So Tesla looking like it'll be closing almost 5% on the day, putting us at almost $190 a share, which is truly quite phenomenal, I must say. Whoever is holding puts on Tesla, especially during this rally, man, that is not a position I would want to be in. Let's just say that. But with that being said, what does this mean? Are we still rallying forward? Is there more room to the upside? Is this the top? Let's discuss that. So on Friday, I mentioned how, the 180 level, the fact that we closed at it was good, but it was kind of, on thin ice, right? Because it was just barely above 180. But I did mention how the candle on the daily did not look bearish, and we're also above the 50-day moving average. So there wasn't like a whole lot of reason to just be straight up flat out bearish on Tesla. Could this be the top? It could be, but there's not enough tell just yet off of this candle on Friday, which is why, we brought that up. Now, with that being said, today, as you can see, clearly not very bearish. Now, keep in mind, like we said Friday as well, right? There was the expiration on Friday, right? A lot of options expired last Friday. I explained it in the video. If you want to check it out, go ahead and do that. But nonetheless, pretty much all that means is the fact that, a lot of the options or the calls in Tesla most likely ended in the money, which means that there's a lot of buying pressure coming in also from that as well. Now, that's going to be helping, drive this momentum for Tesla substantially further and, much more aggressively than the market itself, because the market is, kind of flattish, slightly green to flat, right? So you have to keep that in mind, guys. These kind of moves, there's nothing to do with, Tesla's, fundamentally, this happened and not. This is like the majority of this move is just simply momentum and or traders. That's all it is, guys. The sooner you understand that, the better. But regardless, moving into it, right? What does it mean? Like, can we go even higher, or is this the top? Well, as you can see by these three blue lines, these were the three major levels, right? So this obviously we broke out a long time ago. This is the one that I was watching, the middle one today mainly. And then the kind of most, the highest level, I guess, is this one up here, which is going to be around, 195, maybe even as high as 200, but like around 195, we'll just say for now. And because we broke above this middle one here, to me, that pretty much means that 195-ish, give or take, in theory, should be next. Now, that doesn't mean it has to happen literally tomorrow. It could. You never know with Tesla, of course. But, it does seem like that is going to be the next main target. But again, you're really playing with fire here, guys. I just want to make it extremely clear. Like, if you're just entering a position just now, like to ride this momentum up, right? Like, the risk versus reward, even at 180, it wasn't very high, right? Because this definitely could not have happened, right? But, it did. The point is that you always want to manage risk versus reward. Whenever something rockets this high, I feel like I say this every single time. This happens so often, like back here. And every time all the bulls get very upset at me. But, ultimately, we have to think about this level headed, right? Whenever things rocket like this fast, this aggressively, just straight up like this with these kind of large green candles, yes, it's bullish, it's great. And so far, there's no sign of stopping. Don't get me wrong, which is why I think the 195 is still very much possible. But you always want to be cautious, especially if you're just freshly entering a trade at this level. Just keep that in mind, guys. It's very important. It's all about the risk management. It's all about that. But yeah, anyway, so the way I'm looking at it is as follows, right? So I personally wouldn't be surprised if there's a bit of red tomorrow. It doesn't have to be a deep red. I don't think it'll be some substantial red. I do think that it'll be a little bit of red, but not too much, right? For instance, I wouldn't be surprised if you come back to like maybe 184-ish, give or take, right? Which is only a move from here of what, maybe like 2%. That's nothing too crazy, right? But ultimately, what I do expect is if tomorrow is red, or if there's any weakness right now that's not substantial, so like, pretty much down to like 184 or so, to me, that, again, just my opinion, is a buy the dip opportunity to ride it up to about 195. But again, even then, I still think it's slightly risky. I will personally be doing cash secured puts, so that if it does fall even lower, I'll be buying at a more, I guess, suitable price for myself that I wouldn't mind, adding some shares or holding some shares. Now, with that being said, once we do get to 195-ish, that is where it'll be interesting. Now, the thing with the resistances and, patterns and things like that is those are one thing, right? Obviously, you know, we can make the argument that 180 should have in theory have been a pretty massive resistance, and it was. You can see this candle, right? It was definitely close. But, you know, you also want to pay attention to the daily candles themselves, right? Or even the weekly candles. So for instance, remember back when we had this weekly candle right here, we talked about how this is just a straight up flat out bullish candle. Well, this move afterwards is essentially off of this massive move, right? Most likely when this kind of candle happened, especially on this one or the very end of this one, a lot of traders most likely, you know, loaded up calls on Tesla, went aggressive, went bullish, and that's what happened, and that's what causes this kind of move, right? Because the momentum is there, especially with all the options expiring on Friday. So you want to be careful with these kind of things. But nonetheless, I do expect an overall move somewhere to 195, right? Whether we get a drawdown tomorrow like this first or not is the question. If we do, I'll be entering some, you know, very small, a fairly small position. But nonetheless, I'll most likely will be entering some cash secured puts, which is a bullish position, and then ride it up to around here. And if we don't, then somehow we collapse down even further, I'll be buying at a level that I'm okay buying at anyways, right? That's how I view it. Now, another thing that's important to understand, guys, is the Bollinger Band, right? But by the way, again, that's the, you know, we're above 50-day moving average. We're above the 100-day moving average. We're above the 21 EMA. We're still below 200, which is important. Until Tesla breaks 200, I don't think it's truly bullish, but it's not looking bad. It's definitely not looking bad whatsoever. And I do think it will break it, not necessarily like right away, but I do think like kind of soonish it will break above it. But nonetheless, the best case scenario is, by the way, retesting the 200 moving average, which is pretty much going to meet us at 200. But nonetheless, the one thing I want to talk about here is the Bollinger Band. We are substantially above the green line of the Bollinger Band. Similar to when we're substantially below the red line here or here, you can see it doesn't last too long before some decent move to the upside. The flip is also true, right? Obviously, you have certain instances where Tesla just hugs it an extremely prolonged amount, which, you know, sometimes Tesla just does that. This could be one of the situations. You never know for sure. It could be. But usually when it's hugging this deeply one of the sides of the Bollinger Band, whether it's the green or the red, again, it doesn't last too long. And again, we've talked about this many times. It usually reverts back to the mean, right? Which is, of course, is the white line, which at the moment is all the way down at 167. Again, I don't think we'll go. I mean, there is a chance we go this low. I don't think it's impossible, but I don't think it'll happen just yet. I don't think this will happen until we probably touch around like the 195-ish, give or take a few points. I think once we touch that, then we'll revert back to the mean. So for instance, I wouldn't be surprised if we do something like this, down a little bit tomorrow, and then most likely back up, go up somewhere around here, retest this, right? This is where, remove this for a second, right? Starting from here, and now again, do it right here, right? So that's like the overall resistance, the major one right there. Get a most likely a rejection, and then probably come back down to the mean as it kind of follows us back up somewhere around here, and we meet in the middle, if you will. So probably come down to like maybe the 170s or so. That wouldn't completely surprise me whatsoever. Does it happen? Does it have to happen tomorrow or even the day after? No, absolutely not. I don't know when it's going to happen, but that is something I think will happen. Again, guys, I want to make it clear, I do look at swing trades. I look at it, you know, maybe a week or two, even sometimes a month in advance. I don't look at it as much in a day-to-day basis, in the sense of like, I explain what I think will happen tomorrow because I think people would like to hear that, but I don't really play it off that as much as you would think. I'm more of a swing trader, not a day trader. The shorter the time frame you're trying to predict or whatever, or assess, the harder and more unpredictable it is, right? So keep that in mind as well. It's also quite important. But nonetheless, that's kind of what I am thinking. Now, guys, I'm gonna make it very clear. If we go on the 4-hour chart, for instance, the 3-hour, the 2-hour, the 1-hour, all of them show the same thing. You can see the RSI is severely overbought. It is extremely high, and it is, dangerous to be here. Now, it's a good sign that it's setting up an arguable bullish divergence, because it's, you know, not higher than here, but it is, the stock itself is not higher than it was back here where it was at 207. You know, it's not substantially far from it, but it's definitely lower, but the RSI is higher, so that's nice to see. However, with that being said, that all this means to me is that the trend is still, you know, overall bullish, even after we, let's say, get a massive rejection here, and let's say we do move down. I personally will view this whole move right here a buy the dip opportunity, right? Anywhere around here will just be a buy the dip opportunity, in my opinion. That's just the way I look at it. It doesn't have to happen right away, but I do think it will happen sometime, probably in June. Keep in mind, the debt ceiling confirmation is, I believe, the 6th or the 7th of June. So there's probably going to be some fiesta up until then. Or if there isn't, then usually it'll just be the opposite of just a buy the rumor, sell the news kind of thing, right? Keep that in mind as well, guys. That's also important. There's a lot of factors at play here, so you want to make sure you're like really trying to stay on top of things, right? But the biggest thing I can suggest, guys, is don't get FOMO. And although I've seen some comments in my members section, people are getting, you know, it feels like people are getting a lot of FOMO on here, and rightfully so. Don't get me wrong. I used to be the exact same thing. I used to watch Tesla rocket, and I'm like, wow, I don't have a position like this. I missed my chance. there's always been another chance, guys. As much as it always feels like there isn't, there almost always is another chance, right? Just keep that in mind. Just you have to be level-headed, guys. Extremely, extremely important to you understand that. But nonetheless, that's kind of what I'm seeing. But also moving over to QQQ, for instance, the daily is in overbought territory. Like the daily, guys, it doesn't happen that often, right? Happen over here, happen here, happen here, happen here. But this is a daily time frame. This is for the past like 2 years that we're looking at, maybe even 3 years almost. We're looking at right here, and it doesn't happen that often. You can see, right, that we get into overbought territory on QQQ, or essentially the tech sector. So that's something else to keep in mind, guys. We are entering some pretty overbought situations here in the market, and Tesla is, on the daily, it's close, but not too bad. But the 4 hour, the 3 hour, the 2 hour, the 1 hour, the 30-minute, like they're all extremely overbought right now. That doesn't mean Tesla can't go a little bit higher, which is why I said 195, in my opinion, is still in play. But again, if you're freshly entering a bullish position here, you are playing with fire, in my opinion. The risk to me is extremely low. If you have, there's some serious case of FOMO, then in my opinion, just don't look at the market for like another week, man. Just stop looking at it. The more you look at it, the more FOMO you'll get. That's just how it works. So just, it's all in your head, guys. 90% is mental, 10% is the actual aspect of trading, like doing something. So that's the thing I want to, mainly discuss. And that's kind of what I am currently seeing, guys. So the market is pretty overbought. Tesla is pretty overbought. Doesn't mean there's not more room for higher, but, just be careful. That's all I'm going to say. But nonetheless, I do think 195 is very much in play still. But then I think that's where the rejection will happen. And I think that's where we'll actually get a true drawdown. Again, the fact that we went this high with this much pressure and this much like aggressive buying pressure, to me, this 145 level, definitely less likely now. It's still technically possible because even if we do stop right here, we are still setting, we have this high, then we set this low. Then we set a lower high, then we set a lower low. And technically this will be just a lower high. Just keep that in mind, guys. So technically, the 145 is still not out of the equation, but it is a little bit less likely in my opinion. Just keep that in mind. I know right now it seems like it's impossible, but also back when Tesla was sitting up all the way over here in the 210s, and I was saying 150s, give or take, people were saying that's impossible as well. It clearly happened. So just be careful, guys. Just be careful. Just tread with caution is all I can say. So either way, though, let me know what you think down below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button. Bit of a longer one today, but there's a lot to talk about and a lot of sentiment to discuss, in my opinion. But either way, just keep a cool head, level-headed. Try not to use emotions. Just accept it and understand that there's always more chances and opportunity. By the way, quick bonus, Disney looking really damn good, guys. I'm not gonna lie. I'm probably gonna be entering this one tomorrow for a quick little swing trade. But nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.